Welcome to the Empowered with Erika podcast. My name is Erika Vishkalis, and I'm an empowerment coach, mindset mentor, personal development enthusiast, and holistic health advocate. I've spent the last several years healing my mind, body, and soul, and have learned so much along the way. From healing trauma to navigating a sober lifestyle and learning how to step into my personal power, it has been transformational. If you are looking to heal, to be inspired, to uplevel your life, and become the most empowered version of yourself, you've come to the right place. I created this podcast to help you know you are worthy of rewriting your story and to help you navigate your own empowerment journey. You are worthy of living your most authentic, aligned, and inspired life, and I can help you get there. Whether you are diving deep into personal development or just need a weekly pick-me-up, I've got you covered. Thank you so much for pressing play today. I cannot wait to transform together. Let's get empowered. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Empowered with Erika. Your host, Erika here, and I am so excited to be recording the first episode of 2023. Welcome, guys, to 2023. Happy New Year. I hope you had an amazing holiday season. I know I did. I'm just going to apologize in advance. I am a bit stuffed up, a bit under the weather. I was hoping it would pass before I recorded, but honestly, it got to the point where I could not put off recording this podcast any longer, and I'm not missing a week because I have not done so yet. So I apologize if you hear me sniffling, hear me coughing. I'm going to do my best to avoid that or edit it out, but here we are. So first of all, I just have to say a huge thank you, guys, to all of you who've been listening to the podcast. We have almost doubled in listeners in the past month, which is just crazy to me. So I am just so grateful for all of you who are here. If you're new here, if you're newer, go listen to old episodes on my blog. I have a handful of like the top episodes that people just really love. I'm going to reference actually a few of them today. And I'm just so grateful for you guys to be here. It means so much to me. And one of my biggest New Year's resolutions is to continue to grow this community and continue to grow this audience. So thank you guys for being here and for being a part of the Empowered with Erika community. I love it so much. And, feel free to send me DMs about feedback, about potential topics you'd want me to cover. Literally just let me know, guys. I would love to tailor it more to things that you would like. So with that being said, I also want to say thank you to all of you who have supported my Lunar Calendar. If you are looking for a calendar for 2023 and you have yet to get one, check out the Lunar Calendar. You can get the digital copy for $888 at my website, and it's really going to help you to live in flow and live in alignment this year, which I absolutely love. Because how does it do that? Sorry, 1 second, guys. I'm putting it on Do Not Disturb. I thought I had already done that with my phone, but I did not. Okay. No more interruptions. So why Lunar Calendar? So what it does is not only is it a full 12-month calendar, so literally if you just want like an aesthetic, pretty simple calendar, you can get this. But if you also want to learn how to track the lunar cycles and live in alignment with the moon's energy, this will help you do that. So I have several pages in the calendar before the actual calendar itself starts, where I talk about the moon phases, the different types of phases, the different yin and yang energy cycles, what that means, and how you can use these phases to start to live in alignment. So for an example, the new moon is a yang phase, which is a high energy phase of the moon. So typically you want to get more stuff done that time of the month. It's a great time for setting intentions. And then the full moon is similar. It's also a yang phase. And so high energy, this is a great time for release. Let's say you set a new moon intention and it's not necessarily panning out the way you want to, or it's just no longer feeling aligned for you. That's a great time to release. The full moon is an amazing time for release. So if you're just looking to start to live in flow, I have noticed that when I started to live in alignment with the moon, like my energy really did line up really well with the lunar cycle. And I do think a big part of that is being a woman. We are in a we're cyclical beings, right? Just like the moon. And so we have our own 28-day phases similar to the moon. So especially for women, I think this practice where you practice that yin and that yang, and basically every 3 to 4 days you go from yin and yang, it's it's a beautiful thing. It really helps you to start living in flow. So enough about that. But if you need a calendar, check out the website. You can get a hard copy for, I think it's 35, and then a digital copy for $8. So most people have got the digital, which makes sense to me. That's what I would do too. But now, what are we going to talk about today? Today, we are going to dive into the top books I would add to your reading list for this year. I know a ton of people who do like the Goodreads reading challenge, and I am someone who's done it in the past. I'm just going to say I totally failed my reading challenge last year. I wanted to read 24 books. I got like 14 done. And that's okay. I'm not mad at myself over it. I'm still just happy that I read. I read the same amount as the year before. I am still shooting for 24 books, so basically 2 a month. But one thing I'm going to do this year is allow myself to read more fun books. I do, a lot of personal development books, and I love them. But I think it's also really important to just like feed your soul, not only your mind, right? So that being said, I'm also starting to listen to books during work, and I'm unsure if like you count that. I would love your guys' opinion on that because I know it's not reading, but it's also like you're intaking the information of a book. Like I just listened to a super good book called The Palace Papers. It's all about like the royal family. It's really interesting. And I got a lot of info from it. And obviously, I didn't read it, but I also had to spend many, many, many hours listening to it. So I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Like, does that count if you listen to books? I, in the past, would have said no, but I also never listened to books before. So as of now, I want to read 24 books, but I'm not sure if I'm going to count the ones that I listen to as well. Probably not. So I wanted to break down my top books that I've read. A lot of them I read this past year, but some were before that. And I'm going to do a mix. I'm going to do different categories. And I'm just going to say this right now. Like I just said, I read a lot of personal development, but I didn't want this whole list to be personal development books because some people don't give a shit about that, right? And so I tried to break it down into different categories. But if you're someone who has a question or maybe wants a book in a category I didn't cover or like just wants all my top personal development books, let me know. I can either do a podcast on it, a blog, whatever. I can totally send you that list because I have a ton of personal development books I love that have changed my life. I've read a shit ton of them. So yeah, now I am going to start with my first book is a personal development book that I read this year. It's funny. This book was actually on my shelf for a long time, probably over a year easy. Or it was like on my to read list on Goodreads forever, over a year. And then I found it at Goodwill, which hot take, I love getting books at Goodwill. It's like $2. It's the best. I also really love getting my books on Overdrive or Libby. Those are great as well. It's such an easy and affordable way to read because like we obviously don't always want to buy a book full price, right? Like I do love buying books. I love the physical hard copy. I do have a Kindle as well. I use the Kindle especially for books that I don't know if I'm necessarily going to want to buy. And for the Overdrive and the Libby app, which I think are now combining from my understanding. And so basically with those apps, you connect them to a library card and then you could get books for free online. And it's such an affordable way to read. They have so much stuff. That's where I'm getting a lot of my books and also my audiobooks, but then Goodwill too. And there's a lot of good secondhand bookstores. So check that out if you're trying to read more and you don't want to pay like 20 to 30 bucks a book, because I know that can definitely add up. So this first book, like I said, it's been on my shelf for a long time. This is a personal development one, and I would put it in like the spirituality realm. It's definitely not the most like hippie woo-woo book I read this year. I have several. Let me know if you'd like them. But I know a lot of people on this podcast don't give a shit about that or think I'm a little weird in that regard. So this one it definitely is a spirituality book, but it's I think something that pretty much everyone needs. And it's called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And it really just helps to shift your mindset away from limiting beliefs. So it helps to walk through your thoughts, your emotions, whether or not you feel worthy, and like where your emotions and thoughts are coming from. And it helps to like redirect your energy. So I've talked a ton on this podcast about my journey through ACOA, Adult Children of Alcoholics. And what I thought was so interesting about this book is it really aligned with like different things I've learned and that I've worked through with ACOA. which I thought was really cool because that's not always the case, right? Like I don't always feel that alignment with different spiritual books or different personal development books. And this one, it just really, I needed to read it when I read it. I wish I had taken more notes, but what I liked about this book is it's not a big book. Like it's a pretty thin book. So that's nice. And it's just very applicable to pretty much everyone, especially in today's day and age. I think a lot of times we just are so overreactive to other people in other situations. And I get it. Like, I get that things can be triggering for people. I get that, like, everyone has an opinion on everything nowadays. I do. But for me, what I loved about this book is it really helped me to really take a step back and to remember like what's important and where do I really want my energy to go. So, if you're kind of been stuck in like a limited mindset, if you're someone that just needs like a pick me up, needs a personal development book that has maybe a bit of a spiritual woo woo edge, I would look into this book. It's really good. I loved it. And like I said, it's not very big. So especially if you're not someone that reads, like if you don't read a lot in general, but especially if you don't read a lot of personal development books and you're a little scared to like make a commitment to a big book that's like gonna make you think about your life, this is a great one in my opinion. Also, it's got a pretty cover of a horse and it's very nice. Okay, this next book is also a personal development one, but it's more about mindset and more about women specifically. I did a whole podcast episode on this book, so I'm not going to touch on it too much, but The Audacity to Be Queen by Gina DeVee. I fucking love this book. That's why I did a whole podcast episode on it. It is episode 10, and I think I titled it How to Be Queen of Your Life. This book changed my life, guys. It is so incredibly good, especially for women. So if you are a woman and you are maybe struggling with the concept of divine feminine versus divine masculine, if you're just struggling with how society is nowadays, what I love about this book is it helps you to truly be the queen of your own life. Like that sounds very corny, but something that I think people misunderstand with the divine feminine is that you just need to be some gentle little flower that just sits in a corner and doesn't do anything. And that is not true. Like, yes, rest and receiving and being is so incredibly important. But what I love about this book, in Audacity to Be Queen by Gina DeVee, is she really talks about how to balance, the feminine side that I think a lot of women really need help with in this society nowadays. And I only say that because society has basically told us not to be feminine anymore. Society has basically pushed down this patriarchal bullshit and basically force fed us to be more masculine than we're meant to be. And so what I love about this book is she's like, okay, so here's the masculine traits, here are the feminine traits, here's how you can balance both. Here's how you can be a badass bitch but still tap into your divine feminine. And so I love it. So if you are a woman, I think every woman needs to read this book. I 100% believe that. But I also think if you're a man, I know a lot of men listen to this podcast. If you have a woman that you really care about in your life, one, maybe read it just to like get an insight on women, but also maybe gift this book to someone you care about because it is so fucking good. Okay. Like I said, episode 10, if you want to hear a deep dive into the book itself, so good. I loved it. All right. Now for a fun one. If you like mystery books, or like thriller, I don't know if I'd call this one a thriller, but basically like a mystery. So all you girls like myself or guys who read a lot of Nancy Drew growing up, and love maybe like Law and Order or SVU and all that good stuff, I love this book. It's called The Wild Inside by Christine Carbeau. And I will say on Goodreads, there was some like mixed reviews, but I really loved it. So essentially, it's this guy who investigates a grizzly bear mauling in Glacier National Park in Montana. So I don't know if I just like it because I lived in Montana and I absolutely like loved living there and I love the national parks. And so there's like that connection, but it's a really, really interesting book. And it basically, it's like this great mystery where, I don't want to give it away, but essentially like they find someone that was mauled by a bear, but at the same time, there's definitely foul play. And so then they need to figure out like who did it. And it's a small town, small community, like what the fuck happened. And I will say it's a long book, like it's a pretty thick book, but one reason I put it on my list is because like I could not put it down. Like I read this when we were on vacation in Michigan and I did not want to put it down. I loved this book. So if you're someone that likes mysteries, likes thrillers, I really enjoyed this book. I'm sorry if you don't, but I really did. I did hear some people on Goodreads were like, "Oh, I thought it was too slow." I personally didn't. I didn't feel that way, but I could see it. So just be aware. But I really loved it. It's called The Wild Inside by Christine Carbo. And of course, guys, I'm going to do a blog associated with this podcast episode. I'll put it in the show notes. So if you guys are, want to go back and reference this book list, I will put it there. Okay. The next book that I wanted to talk about, and I did another whole episode on this book too, but it completely changed my life this year. Like this podcast probably would not exist if it were not for this book. Okay. So as many of you guys know, I made a huge career change this year. I completely switched fields. And a big part of that was because I wasn't feeling very fulfilled by my career. And a book that Kyle actually gave me last Christmas after hearing about it on a podcast was called U-Turn by Ashley Stahl. And so like I said, I did a whole episode on this book. It's episode 22. It's how to know when it's time to make a U-turn is what I titled it. So episode 22, if you are someone that's maybe stuck in your career or you're just feeling like a lack of drive, a lack of purpose, I definitely recommend reading this book. There are so many good nuggets in it. If you want a full deep dive into the book, go listen to the podcast, episode 22. But I will tell you guys, what I loved about this book is it really helped you break down how to figure out not necessarily what your purpose is, because I don't think anyone can tell you that but yourself, but it helped you like identify your strengths, identify different areas where you may want to work. And one thing I thought was really interesting is she said how a lot of people are actually not that far off from their ideal career, that maybe a lot of people are like in the right field, but maybe just doing the wrong thing in that field. And so I thought that was interesting because even for myself right now, like I'm in insurance, but I am in athletic insurance. And so we primarily cater to different schools. I only work with colleges. We have a lot of the Division I colleges that we work with. And so now instead of being the person that takes care of them on the field, I'm still somewhat involved in collegiate athletics by paying for all their medical bills. And it sounds silly, but I like it a lot. And I'm still working on building my own thing. I talk about that openly, like that's what I want to do full time, but long term. But I do love this job and I love where this career has taken me. And I don't know if I would have started this podcast if it were not for this book, because it helped me to identify my strengths, helped me identify what I was passionate about. So if you're someone that's like just feeling a little stuck, or honestly, you just need to like revamp your life a little bit and you're looking specifically at career and purpose, I would read this book. Okay, so good. Now, this next one is also somewhat of a personal development book, but it is specifically about money. I've read a handful of books about money this year. I actually did do an episode about the book, The Illusion of Money. I forget which episode it was. I didn't write it down ahead of time because that's not the book I chose, even though it is a great book. I've read a lot of books about money. There are so many I could list. And I read a lot of books about money because I think honestly, so many of us nowadays are ingrained with a scarcity mindset when it comes to finances. And that's just unfortunate because I think that with where the world is going and with how so many people view money, it's really negative. It's really, really negative. And I understand that we all need to like be prepared and blah, 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 and be smart. But I think a lot of people don't realize how much potential they truly have, right? And so that's why I'm choosing this book for the next one. And it's called You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. So I've read her first book, which is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. And it was very, very good. And again, this was another Goodwill find. I got it. I was like, oh, I got to read it. I love this author. She's great. And so this book really just helps you to, again, switch your mindset about money, that you are a badass at making money. You can make money. I truly believe that everyone is capable of earning the salary or whatever the income that they deserve and that they desire. So if you are someone that maybe realizes like, I don't have the best relationship with money, I always feel like there's not enough, I always feel like there's no way I'm going to be able to make more, I live paycheck to paycheck, or I just have a negative mindset, or even like I overspend all the time, I'm irresponsible with money, whatever the case may be. Because I think a lot of people nowadays struggle, especially in like the consumerism society we are in. A lot of people struggle with money mindset. So, and I get it because I've been there and I'm still somewhat there, but I have made massive strides. And I think that this book is one of the reasons why. Okay, so now we have 2 more left. I'm talking about 7 books. And this next one is a fun one. It's kind of a general recommendation. So I told you guys I'm trying to make more room for fun books. And I didn't read a ton of them this year. I did read a handful of World War II historical fiction books. Those were all so good. But I'm going to tell you guys, if you want like a fun beach read, if you just want to put your brain on the shelf and just chill the fuck out, I'll be honest, I am a complete sucker for any Nicholas Sparks book. I fucking love them. I do. Like, okay, I know that it's going to be some dude and some chick falling in love in North Carolina, but you know what? I'm here for it. I am here for it. But which book of his do I recommend specifically? 1 second. Let me take a drink break. Trying to not cough mid podcast. I apologize. Which book of his do I recommend? Well, honestly, I love them all, but this book is so underrated. So many people have no idea it even exists. Did you guys know there is a sequel to The Notebook? You know, the famous Notebook movie? Yes, that author has a sequel to the book, and it is so good. It is called The Wedding. The Wedding is a sequel to The Notebook, and I love this book, guys. So basically, what it is at this point in the book, I believe that Allie has passed on, and I'm not going to give anything away, but essentially, it is all about one of Noah and Allie's children who is like, I think they're struggling in their marriage, if I remember correctly, and they want to do like a vow renewal. And so Noah helps his son-in-law plan this vow renewal for his son-in-law and daughter. And it's so cute. I just love it. It's like one of my favorite Nicholas Sparks books. It's just so cute and I'm obsessed. 2 by 2 is another good one. And again, just any Nicholas Sparks books I really love. But The Wedding by Nicholas Sparks, if you are a Notebook fan, if you love rom-coms, read this book. I just love them. They're really easy, fun reads. Yeah, I just do. I just really love The Notebook. I love The Notebook. I love The Wedding. I love all those books. So The Wedding by Nicholas Sparks. It is one of my favorite like beach reads. Last one, and this was a last minute addition. I have not read this book in a really long time, but this is something that I've been like kind of dealing with this year, and that's body image. How many of y'all kind of struggle with body image and your relationship to food? I know a lot of people do, guys, girls, everyone in between. And I've never been diagnosed with an eating disorder. Trigger warning, I guess. I've never been diagnosed with one, but I will say I've had some very, very disordered habits. And you could probably say that I have one. But I haven't like talked to a doctor about it. And I personally have had issues at times with like binge eating. And I've seen people who that like when I've done some research about it, I do believe that there's people who struggle with it way, way more than I do. And I'm actually kind of working through that right now and realizing where that may be coming from internally. But this book really helped me a lot with my mindset towards food. It like changed my life. I recommended it to a friend and it changed her life as well. And that is called Hungry for Happiness by Samantha Skelly. I love Samantha Skelly. She now does a lot of breath work. She's like a breathwork teacher and you can like get certified with her for breathwork. But Hungry for Happiness, basically this book just helps you figure out how to like have a healthier relationship with food. She is someone that struggles with or did struggle with binge eating disorder, if I remember correctly. It's been years since I read this book, but it helped me exponentially. But I'll tell you guys, like this is a long process. We have so many things in society nowadays that just make it hard to be a man or a woman. You know, it's tough. Body image is a tough topic. And especially I think because we're in such an image driven society, as well as everyone just compares themselves to each other all the fucking time, right? Like people are just constantly comparing. And so I think we have these like impossible standards for ourselves. So if you're someone that maybe struggles body image, even if it's not binge eating disorder, I think that this could potentially be very helpful. I love it. It really, really helped me change my mindset towards food. And I'm not perfect. I still have a ways to go, but it helped. And I think it's an important topic. So I hope that these books are maybe something you're going to add to your shelf. I would love to hear what books you'd recommend. So if you wanted to DM me or message me or leave a comment in the Facebook group or on the blog, I would love to hear books that you would recommend. I read, like I said, I want to read more fun ones. I really want to read more mystery, some more historical fiction. I'm sure I'm still going to do some mindset ones, but I've also really been into the like very spiritual woo-woo books. Like I love them. Okay, I'll give an 8th additional one. This one is not on my list, so let me pull it up on my Goodreads really quick. It is really good. It's one of the more recent books that I read. So if you are not super woo-woo and spiritual, you're probably going to think I'm a psycho. But this book is called Believe, Ask, and Act by Marianne DeMarco. And she is a medium who has been communicating with the other side since she was 5 years old. So she's like a medium, an intuitive counselor, and spiritual teacher. And this may sound crazy, guys, but I have had a handful of family members that have passed away. And I don't know about you, but like death is like a topic that freaks me the fuck out. Like it really has. But this book specifically, Believe, Ask, Act by Marianne DeMarco, for whatever reason, because it's not like the book itself was like all about death. It really was not at all, actually. But it did kind of talk about the topic a little bit because, of course, it was talking about like the other side and spirituality and stuff. It just made me have so much more peace with whatever happens after we're here. She also is a Catholic, and I was raised Catholic, so just seeing that blend of Catholicism and like kind of new age spirituality a little bit is what probably most people would call it, was so interesting to me, and it just made so many things make sense. So if you are a spiritual person, if you are someone that's like interested in all that stuff, it was so interesting, especially for me, like as someone who's raised Catholic. I love the saints. I always have. I've always loved the various apparitions of Mary. You know, I was born on Our Lady of Guadalupe's feast day. I've just always really connected with that. And just seeing her take on these different spiritual figures as like spirit guides, as guides in our life, it just gave so much peace. Especially because, you know, Kyle and I have talked a lot about like how we feel like past family members or friends or whatever still kind of guide you. And I just know, you know, for me, you know, I shared a few episodes back about how my grandma passed away a couple years ago, and I know that I feel her presence with me. Like, I know it. I know she's on my spirit team. I know she guides me. I know it. I 100% feel it. And so this book just really gave me a lot of peace. So I guess that's like a bonus 8th is Act or Believe, Ask, and Act by Marianne DeMarco. So fucking good. Loved it. So like I said, guys, thank you for putting up with this stuffy nose voice. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. I can't wait to hear what books you guys are adding to your list. If there's any that you guys read from this podcast, I would love to hear your take on them. I hope you enjoyed them. I mean, I know everyone has different tastes of books, so no promises, but these are books I've really enjoyed over the years. And I could keep talking and talking and talking. It was so hard to choose only 7, I guess 8 with the bonus one. It's so hard to choose because there's so many I wanted to share, but I wanted to give a variety. So no matter what you're interested in, if you're interested in something fun, if you're interested in career, money, spirituality, mindset, whatever the case may be, check out those books. And I am so grateful for you all. Again, guys, I have loved having more listeners. It's so cool to see our community grow. So if there are certain topics that you want me to talk about or dive deeper into, please let me know. I would love to hear back from you guys. Feel free to text me, message me, whatever mode is easiest for y'all. So thank you guys for listening. I will talk to you next week, and don't forget to stay empowered. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you for taking the time to be a part of our community. Don't forget to check the show notes for the resources I shared in today's episode, and of course to connect with me on social. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at erika.vishkalis. You can also find me on Facebook at Erika Vishkalis. If you want to be a part of our online community, check out our Facebook group, Empowered with Erika. You can also find all of our offers and community links at empoweredwitherika.com. I always love hearing from you, so don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, and tag me with your biggest takeaways from today's episode. Let me know what you loved and what you want to hear more about, and share it with someone who you think would love it too. I cannot wait to share more with you. I will see you next week, and don't forget to stay empowered.